let's talk about Joe Schoen, when he talked about there in the NBC booth there during the game. So those of you all like myself that had to watch the national coverage, and I say that national coverage with the quotation marks it so quite frankly deserves, as you literally had the Bills people trying to talk over the touchdown that Jackson Dart threw. That's how bad the coverage was. And literally went into 5-minute interviews during the game, making us miss things. Bill should have been goddamn embarrassed about that. We don't care about your goddamn stadium. So, anyway, get off my soapbox. I was about to say. Anyway, Joe Schoen did meet with the people in the NBC telecast there to talk about things going on with the game there. And guys, I was able to watch it. Who was it? Was it Banks and Papa? What's going on? Who was in that one? Do you guys know off the top of your head?
No, I got the Buffalo coverage.
I got the Buffalo coverage. Yeah. I'm sure it's probably someone much better. I would have preferred that. I said actually while we're doing the play-by-play during the game, I said that what they should do for all the telecasts going forward for preseason is have one person from one team, one person from the team, let them duke it out and fight it out during. I want to see that. That would be fun.
A boxing act in the middle.
No, I mean imagine if you go into a game like this one, for example. We're getting way sidetracked again as usual. But imagine going to this game and it's like Carl Banks, talking to Jim Kelly, that kind of thing. Have one of the guys from each talk it out and fight it out and stuff. And listen, those guys all get along behind closed doors, so it's not like you'd actually see actual fighting. I think it'd be a much more entertaining show because you get perspective of both teams at that point as well.
That's an excellent idea. I like that.
Like I said, I think that's what they should do, but they never will. Anyway, though, the whole thing we're going to talk about was Joe Schoen talking during the NBC telecast there, and point blank calling CB2 a battle. Guys, you couple that with the fact that, literally he was out there for an entire half. Deonte Banks is in trouble, guys. He is in trouble. Cordale Flott is injured right now, and probably the biggest thing helping Banks is availability. But otherwise, kid's got to learn to turn around.
There were a couple times he's up on press, and he just opens. Now, I don't know if that's the schematics, but I kept saying, well, why are you not jamming? Why are you not, funneling him properly? Why are you just opening up your hips and allowing him an easy release? So, but there were some times I wondered, schematically. I know what was the third play of the game? It was 3rd and 15, and they were in a zone man concept, and Banks was playing man by himself on the single side. So, and then everybody else was in zone. That's where they threw the little dump off to Dalton or whatever his name is, the tight end on the crosser. And I kept rewinding and looking at it, and I said, "Oh, okay." Now, the first thing I said, this is preseason, and Bone is throwing that out. So I want to see what your playbook is, because usually preseason is very vanilla. And if you're putting out man-zone combinations together in the preseason, the third defensive play of the game, what is the rest of the defensive? But getting back to Banks, and you also let him play solo, so it's you're right. I Drew, in what you're saying, his ability to play, is it the confidence? What are you guys teaching him technique wise? Is he not, if you're teaching him the proper techniques, is he not just putting it out there on the field? Because I'm wondering too.
We talked about this when we first drafted him. Rob and I liked the athleticism he provided. We thought he was a 2nd-round pick. That's what we said point blank. We said he was a 2nd-round pick. We traded up to get him towards the end of the 1st. That was their guy. Wink was all excited. Remember that? Wink was all that's probably the happiest I've ever seen Wink, except for the day he resigned. Yeah. But he was a guy that we thought had all the athletic ability whatsoever, needed coaching, needed to fix some of the things at that point, especially turning his head around, which he still has the problem with, obviously. He can stay, step for step sometimes. He gets lost, I feel like, sometimes with quick moves. He just has that problem for some reason. And he has the speed to overcome it sometimes. He doesn't have it other times. But I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, because I know, again, you got a little more experience as far as the film watching and the coaching stuff than I do, obviously. But I feel like watching him, I feel like what he is he's that kid that's gotten by with pure natural talent his whole career. And now he can't. And and he's not coachable to the point where you can fix these things that quickly as well. And I don't want to speak about it. I don't know personally. Like, I'm not trying to sit there and say that I know him personally, and we've had many conversations, obviously. But he strikes me, based on things we saw last year, as not that coachable. And you put those two combinations together, and that's a bad combo.
Well, the first thing that hurt him is, yes, Wink, changing the defensive systems. Because Wink is press man. That's who you go, stay in him, ride the hip, get downfield. I've had arguments with some people who always say he doesn't turn his head around. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Well, when the receiver runs upfield, he's not turning his head. I'm like, well, first and foremost, he needs to turn, squeeze the hip, close the separation before he turns the head. I said, now, if you wanted to walk down the street side by side with someone, just turn your head while you're walking with that person. You know what's going to end up happening? Your body's going to go to where your head is turning. Mm-hmm. I said it's now understanding when to get there, feel the receiver, and get your head around. What most people fail to realize, in 2 years, he has 23 pass deflections. So that's telling me he's in position and he is knocking the ball away. But to the argument of interceptions, he needs to do a better job of getting his head around and making a play on the football. I'm with everyone there. But to those who just argue that just to argue, no.
Yes. You have to understand how football is played. Yeah, you don't just turn your head automatically because you will lose the receiver in the process. What you have to do is you have to sense when the receiver is about to go for the ball, whether that's having your hand on their hip and feel the movement there, or visually watching his eyes and seeing what he's doing at that point there. He's not wrong on that part. It's that last second turn he's missing. Yes. And it's funny because you mentioned as far as, him as far as being better in press man. He had a lot more experience of that in college at Maryland as well. Maryland was a primarily press system, but they did do zone as well. It was a hybrid scheme leaning towards the press. And his rookie year, I go back to, because I thought his second half of his rookie year, he actually started looking better. He got a couple of picks as well. And if you remember, that's when they started forcing Wink to use zone coverage towards the end. And his picks actually were in zone coverage. That's the weird part about it. I can't quite get a feel on the kid. And that's what kind of ticks me off to a certain degree. I see him looking more fluid, more natural when he's in press, but he doesn't turn around. Then you see him in zone. He doesn't look as fluid, doesn't look as natural in that kind of play, but then he has a higher tendency to turn his head at that point because he's not focused so much on one individual player. I think, honestly, again, I think it comes down to coaching, and I just don't know if this kid is coachable, and that's the problem because he's gotten by without having to get that done. He's gotten by with that natural ability.
No, you're right. When you rely on your natural ability, you become deaf to coaching. Sometimes, which is an excellent point. Experienced it myself. And it's hard to, as a coach, to really get through to some guys because they think they know everything. And when they think they know everything, then as one of my coaches said to me, just give him the rope and let him hang himself.
Yeah. And unfortunately, they did that last year and way too soon. Banks had to go through a gauntlet of receivers when he was not prepared to be a CB1 last year. We've said that multiple times in the show. They set him up to fail, point blank. Set him up to fail. What they should have done is give the open checkbook to Gilmore and get him just to avoid putting Banks out there into a spot he wasn't ready for.
He's
trying to get a better mentor.
You got guys saying it, the pressure. Is he ready for being CB1? No, he's not. He was never ready to be CB1. Last year he just wasn't, and then here, don't forget, being in the New York market. Come on, that's brutal. Some people are just not built for it here.
Yeah, and I'll tell you guys point blank, because talking to people, again, I'm not going to give specific names, but I hear little droplets here or there from people on things of the Giants there. The Giants wanted absolutely nothing to do with Adoree Jackson last year. And the fact that they signed Adoree Jackson and brought him on told you how confident they were not in Deonte Banks. Plus the fact that they were really trying, you saw in Hard Knocks, to go get a corner in the second round last year as well. Going back to the 24 draft. They really wanted one and weren't able to get one. So again, this just tells you they were trying, they knew he wasn't ready, but they still forced him out there. Wasn't fair what they did to this kid. Point blank.
No, it's not. And Mac says it. You're right. He's young, Mac. I totally agree with you. He definitely is young. So, and it goes back to what we were just saying is coaching. Now, as Drew was saying, is he coachable? That's the question. Because they also fired the cornerback coach from last year. So you have a new
Jerome
DB
Henderson,
coach.
yeah, the defensive back coach overall, who was also, remember, promoted before last year as well because he was so highly thought of. And by the way, we've always thought very good of Jerome Henderson, who I think is with the Texans now, I want to say. I forget. But he landed right on his feet, no problem, because the kind of reputation he has. And that was the big thing people said when he was gone, is that he got Jerome Henderson fired.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to look to where he's at now. The Colts, actually. He's on the Colts. So him and Daniel Jones are a package deal, apparently. It's a weird pairing. You know, you got to wonder who got there first. And did he get there? And he's like, and he sees Daniel Jones walk in the building, like, God damn it, not again. Come on. You were supposed to stay there. I went over here first. You were supposed to stay there. Oh, my gosh. As people talk about in the chat there, all the issues with first-round draft picks that we've gotten at corner. And guys, it's like tight end. That is a very difficult spot to figure out. Success rates are not good. They're not.
I go back to Mark Collins. So, I love Mark Collins. So that was a drafted. So I understand where y'all are coming from. It's been a challenge with cornerbacks as of late. If
we hadn't let Eli Apple go.
Oh my God! Yeah, I get it.
By the way, he just got cut though. He got signed like 2 weeks ago, I think, by the Chargers, and got cut today. So listen, Eli Apple can come back. There you go. There's our CB2.
Yeah, we got Webster Thomas.
Oh my God!
What's called from Texas, who also was there too. So yeah.
As Ghost Dog pulls out the mids again here, he said, "Hell, even Prince Amukamara was mids," and he was mid. Listen, he had a good career. He was a second or third round pick. We would have totally said that was a good pick, but because where he got picked is where people look at him back there. But he was a good career. Just definitely disappointment based on where he got.
Thanks for watching. Like the show? Of course you do, or you would have turned it off by now and not be hearing me. There are plenty of ways to support the show. YouTube is the best place to join us, and we offer memberships there with fun benefits like custom emojis and early access to video clips. Of course, there you can also send super chats and stickers to send one-time support payments. The best way to support the show is to buy these drunk idiots beers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Along with one-time support payments, there are also monthly plans, so you can continue to help kill their livers each month. You can also show people that you are a goofball by visiting our store at 2giantgoofballs-shop.fourthwall.com. We got everything from shirts, hats, phone cases, funny candles, buttons, stickers, and even a 2 Giant Goofballs towel to dry off your goofballs. Of course, you can always support the show for free by simply hitting the like, subscribe, and share button wherever you are watching or listening to this. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps the show tremendously, and quite frankly, the goofballs suck at marketing and need your help to get the word out. Thank you for being part of the Goofball Army and for taking the time out to support the show.
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.